Okay, so welcome to part 2 of my first episode of the Thoughts in Motion podcast. I'm your host, Tamaryn Nicholson, and the first part of this series, or the first part of this episode, is where we just introduce the podcast and just discussed all the different things that I want to explore in the podcast and the different topics, etc. And I thought that a nice follow up to that would be just a bit of a testimony on me and my life and what I've experienced and what led me to want to do this. I'm going to try my best to be as vulnerable as I can be. I have found that I can sometimes be a bit, not desensitized, but detached from the things that have happened to me. I don't know if that's healing or a coping mechanism, which is something that does this. Sometimes it is because I've healed, and sometimes it's because I am disassociating. Okay, so to begin, I am currently 31. As old in my bones and life experience as I feel, because as we get through, there's been quite a lot of activity within my life, as I'm sure it has been for you. But I also feel too young to be 31. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. We'll explore that. But maybe it's also because I'm short, so I feel little. But I don't know. I don't think I portray myself as little, if that makes sense. Maybe it's a little bit of imposter syndrome. So that's an introduction into me. So I grew up mainly in Johannesburg, South Africa. My family and I lived in Durban. First, we lived in East London, then we moved to Durban until I was about 10 years old, which I really loved my life growing up there. I went to 2 schools. That becomes relevant later. But we went to, my sister and I have a sister, and my parents, who are still married. I think they've been together now 32 or 33 years, which is amazing. And my sister is married as well. She's been married, I think, 3 years. Anyways, she has a baby, which I love her. She's 2. Her name's Layla. So when we were 10, we were told that we were moving to Joburg, which was scary. And I remember crying. I even remember where we were. We were outside the Sanlam Centre in Durban when our parents told us. And I remember with my sister and I crying. But weirdly enough, I was really excited about it. I get quite excited about change, and I'm not someone who's averse to change. I actually quite like it. Maybe that's my ADHD. I've never been at a school more than 2 years. So I went to 7 schools throughout my lifetime. Some for different reasons, but there were times when my sister wasn't treated really well. She was bullied really badly. When we moved schools because of that, I just kind of tagged along, which was fine. As I said, I like change, and I think it has played a very big role in my ability to network and make friends. And I think that's definitely helped me in my career as well. Because I'm not scared of being the new person, or it's helped a lot with let's call it confidence, in terms of meeting people and not being shy, even though sometimes I can be really shy, which will blow people's minds, because sometimes I'm also a introvert, which people don't get. But anyway, when I was in end of grade 10, I asked my parents if they would kindly move me to a music school, because the school we were at the time, the people there just lacked ambition. It was like a little bit of a school where people didn't maybe they had dropped out or needed to redo some marks or whatever. It was a school better for those types of people. And I just felt like a lot of people there lack drive and lack ambition. That's not everybody, but it just wasn't the right environment for me. And my parents were so kind to provide the opportunity where I could go to a music school. So then for grade 11 and 12, I went to a music school in Pretoria, and I loved it because I boarded, and it was just amazing. Like, I think it was a really great space for me to be a bit more independent, but also a bit of an escape from a lot of the stuff that was happening at home. Because my sister struggled a lot emotionally, my parents had a lot of anxiety and stress, and it just was a little bit of a tumultuous, if that's the right word, environment at home. And I think when I went to music school, I could kind of just be myself and only worry about me, and just do my thing, and also just look forward in my career. So then I did music there. I'm a singer. Finished there in I finished school a year early, so I was 17 when I finished, and then I went to intern at at a record label. which was really, really cool. And that's where I met a lot of people and pursued a lot of opportunities and networked, and yeah, I just built my database of people. Thank goodness, like thanks to my parents, they subsidized me quite a bit for like spending money and petrol. So I didn't have to work for free at a lot of I didn't have to work for money or a salary. So a lot of people were more open to having me on because they're like, okay, cool, we'll have you. And then that's where I learned. And I think my willingness to work also helped a lot. So yeah, so then that was that. And then, but when I was 17, I also met my first boyfriend. And this was the beginning of a pattern that repeated itself for a good, I would say nearly 10, 11 years. Up until then, I hadn't really had a boyfriend. I was rejected quite a bit, or it felt like rejection a lot of the time. I was ghosted, or, whatever it was. And I took that a lot personally. So when this guy came along, I was like, oh my gosh, somebody loves me. Somebody wants to date me. So that meant that he could do anything. And I would just, I'd be so scared I wouldn't find somebody, or I was like, no, this is it, So I sacrificed a lot of myself for that relationship. We were together about 4 years, and he was an awful boyfriend. He was emotionally, psychologically abusive. He was a liar, manipulative, cheated. Towards the end that I know of, he probably cheated on me before then, but that wasn't like a consistent theme. He struggled with some stuff, and he took a lot out on me. Charlie ended up ending that relationship, thank goodness, even though he was super abusive and ended up cheating on me, and it was like a whole lot. And I developed a blood condition during that time because it was so stressful, where my platelets were super, super low and my blood wouldn't clot, but thank God he healed that. Ended up breaking up with that guy, and then a bit of a serial dater. I don't think I was single very long, and I met my next boyfriend, and he it was a good relationship, but I think I outgrew him, and I don't think he challenged me enough, and I think that time was over. But unfortunately, he did end up cheating on me with the woman he's now married to, but I'm very happy for them. And I ended up being single for a little bit, which was a hard time because I struggled with a lot of rejection up until that, like during that 6 months, and I got myself into some situations that were a little bit depressing. Anyways, then I started dating another guy, which was fine. It was 8 months. Then my sister had probably her worst suicide attempt ever. She ended up in a coma in ICU. I was the one that got her there, or my dad as well, but like, yeah, it was really, really hard. It was really, really scary. And I think I'd broken up with that guy like a week before, so I was still also going through that. And yeah, my sister and I had an argument with her the night before, so that was difficult for me to navigate in terms of guilt and shame. And then she was intubated, so she was on life support, which was scary. But yeah, God completely healed her, and that was, I think, the first time I prayed for something to happen instead of, Lord, if this is in your favor or if this is in your will. I was like, God, you have to heal my sister. Like, I can't live without her. And she recovered quite beautifully from that. She had some side effects, if we can say it, but she was fine. But then, yeah, it was a bit hard on my mom the weeks following that. So there were some other situations that happened, but yeah. And then I met another person, and yeah, I met this person overseas, and then they came, and it felt like a fairy tale. It felt like the most beautiful love story. But this was probably the worst relationship I'd ever been through, and it was a catalyst to me changing my life, which I'm so grateful for, and just working on myself, because I was codependent, and I just let this person tell me who I was, and we didn't know each other. When they moved to South Africa, well, they didn't actually move to South Africa. They came to visit and got stuck in COVID together. So what was traumatizing for COVID for others was not traumatizing for me, because I was so distracted. Yeah, so they were isolating, controlling. I wasn't allowed to see my family. I wasn't allowed to see my friend. And the thing is, it's not a situation where they say, you can't do this, you can do that, you can do this. It was a situation of, they made valid reasoning for why, and they like brainwash you and manipulate you and gaslight you into believing their narrative. And because my relationship with certain friends and my family wasn't healthy, like, it was the perfect benchmark for the argument. But yeah, it was a really, really hard relationship. It was super traumatizing. We broke up 2 years later, thank goodness. And that was probably the hardest thing to do, was leave that relationship, but thank God. So yeah, and it was a beautifully difficult life experience. We broke up on the Tuesday before Christmas. I'll never forget. And I think it was Thursday was Christmas Eve, and I went back to church for the first time because I grew up in a Christian family, but I never believed in biblical. I never read the Bible. We didn't really go to church from when I was about 12 years old on. I just really believed in God, but I also couldn't really relate to the Jesus concept and whatever. And I just wasn't as educated. But luckily, this person's dad was an amazing teacher, and he taught me a lot about the Bible and God and Jesus, and really led me to like wanting to dive into my faith, which has been such an interesting thing because I've really become so interested in theology and the Bible, and I read it quite often, and I try to read it every day, but I don't get around to it. But that's been really, really cool. But and from that Christmas Eve, I never turned back. I still go to that church, and my friends go to that church, and God has like brought so many people back to him through this experience in my life, which I'm so grateful for. The time after this breakup was really, really hard because I was so traumatized, and I struggled to trust friends because I lost a very good friend during this breakup due to betrayal. But I forgive that person, and for the most part, this ex of mine that I'm speaking of, I've forgiven them and I've let go of that. There are some residual things that I like struggle with here and there, but for the most part, I'm like, I thank you, but I'm grateful to God for the power of forgiveness. So then, that relationship ended, and I struggled with a lot of PTSD afterwards. I really struggled with depression, anxiety, self-worth, friends, if I could trust friends, trusting people. But 2023, I was about to go to London, and my mom got sick. She got an abscess in her cornea, which caused a lot of pain, and she was in so much pain, she just kept taking Sindel, and without knowing that it was affecting her. I don't know if it was a liver or kidney. I think it was a liver. And unfortunately, she did go into like a bit of organ decline. I wouldn't say failure yet, but we were pretty close. So she ended up in high care, which was super scary, especially because our relationship was doing so well. Yeah, then she was fine. And then I went to London, and my sister was pregnant with Layla. And that pregnancy was pretty difficult because she was told she couldn't have kids, and then she was told that there wasn't a heartbeat. On the 23rd of March, Layla was born very prematurely, about 2 months too early, because my sister had preeclampsia, which is a very risky illness or diagnosis to have when you're pregnant because it affects your blood pressure. So then Layla came early while I was in London, and I came back on the 28th of March. 27th of March, and my birthday was the 28th, and we took my grandmother and like 2 friends for tea, which is wild because I'm not a tea drinker, but we had a high tea. And as we were leaving, my grand tripped and fell and broke her hip at 89 years old. Super scary. She got very sick from the morphine. Also, because there was politics in my family, I didn't really know my grand well until my grandfather passed away because of family politics. So this was like, I would say over the past 10 years, my gran and I have really come to know each other really well and build a relationship. So then she ended up, we didn't know she had an underlying heart condition. So when she had to have the hip operation, she flatlined a couple of times, which is so scary. I mean, she was almost 90. She's now 91, but she nearly died. So with my mom being in hospital like 3 weeks before, my sister being in hospital with Layla being in NICU and being prem, my grandmother being so sick at this time, because I had to, like, I saw her intubated. It was the same thing with my sister. It was quite scary, like, seeing my grand so unwell, and she's quite a feisty, funny lady, and there was like, oh, it was so hard to see her like that, but God healed her and answered my prayers for healing. Gran came out of hospital. She was in recovery. Layla was home for 7 days after getting released from the NICU, and then she got the RSV virus, which is a respiratory virus that hits infants, and it's very dangerous for them. But now also the fact that Layla was prem and her lungs weren't developed properly, she got very sick, and she was upgraded to different intubators, and like she was tiny, she was so little, and I was worried for my sister. And then she got moved hospitals, which was scary, and shame the baby next to her passed away from the same virus. They went in on the same day. So it was so scary. Like, I was so worried for my family. But with my prayer warrior friends, the warriorness and the prayer warriors in my family, I mean, it was hard on my mom because my mom had her hard and I had to keep, building the strength up for her. But yeah, like, Layla pulled through, and Layla's a healthy 2-year-old now. But that was a hard time for the family. And yeah, so everybody's healed, everybody's good. Had a few health conditions within the family late, like my not grandfather, my uncle got diagnosed with cancer, but God's healed him. Another beautiful family friend got diagnosed with COVID, and she was very sick in a government hospital, and she's healed. So God has completely answered my prayers for healing in very miraculous circumstances, especially Layla. Like, Layla, whenever she goes into the hospital, they'll be like, that's the miracle baby. And also with my grandmother, they're like, those genes. But it's not, it's just, yes, God has blessed my family and my family line with great genes and a fighting spirit, but healing is most important with God. So yeah, and then in the 3 years of being single, I've just stayed single. I've had 1 or 2 situationships, and I've been really disappointed with God, and I've fought with him because I've wanted relationships, but I also trust that it's his timing, and I'm not desperate for a relationship with anymore. I'm super comfortable being alone, but also super able to love, which I think is the most important thing. Like, don't rely too much on your independence, which is something that I'm going to struggle with of when I do meet that person. I meet my husband and the father of my children, like, to let go of my independence and be more interdependent, but also not be codependent. But I look forward to that, and I look forward to life and healing and growing and learning and all those beautiful things. Just growing and learning and forgiving and learning more about God and bringing more people to God if they want to. Like, I'll never throw a Bible at you. I try my best not to ridicule or shame or condemn people, and just to answer their questions as openly and honestly as possible, and just with most kindness and gentleness as well, but with truth. I'll never lie to you, and I'll never hold back what the Bible says, but I will try my best to do it in the best way, because he has been the one constant thing that has loved me. And I've also just come to know Jesus and the Holy Spirit and what that means and what it means to be saved and to believe that I'm saved. And I do, but I also understand that why people don't believe. Not that it's based on truth, because once you know the truth, I truly do believe that this is the way, and it's the answer to all of our problems that we face in life and as people. But yeah, God has just been so graceful with me and gracious. I'm hard on myself, and I struggle to forgive myself and be kind to myself and not shame myself, but I also understand that that's the words of the enemy and the mission of the enemy. But yeah, like, I want this podcast to be a place where I'm vulnerable, where you're vulnerable, where my guests are vulnerable, and we just have honest conversations about deep topics, but maybe not deep topics. Like, I've learned that I've got a very healthy sense of humor. It used to be quite dark, but it's a lot more light now. And I'm a joyful, happy person, and I want to introduce those concepts as well. Like, have fun in this podcast too, and just grow and learn and succeed and be the best versions of ourselves, and live the best, most vibrant life that we can, and just figure out this life thing together. Okay, so it's come to that time of the podcast where we will answer one of these questions, the thoughts and motion questions. So the question for today is, how has God shown up for you in the past? So as you can see, he's healed a lot of my family members, which has been beautiful, but just he's rescued me from my anxiety and really hard situations. So that's how he's shown up, but he shows up every day, every day. Let's find another one that's more generic. Where or who do you want to be this time next year? And please answer these questions in the comment section. I want to be one, wherever God wants me to be. I want to be fulfilling the purpose he has for me. I would love to have traveled more, have my business grow a bit more, be a bit more in control of my time and schedule and discipline, a bit more disciplined. I'd like to have more energy, so get my sleeping pattern right. I'd like for this podcast to still be going, and that it's just doing well and that it's helping people. So yeah, that is me. That is an answer to some of my questions. Please also answer in the comment below. Share if there's any topics you want me to cover or any questions you want me to ask. But like and subscribe and all those podcasty thingies. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me and taking the time to listen. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And as we go, we'll dive in deeper. But God bless and thank you for listening.